Hello class, welcome to a Mrs. Jones online lesson. Today we're going to be talking about an intro to percents. First off, let's go over what a percentage is using this story problem. So, Liana and Paris were looking at a model in Mrs. Henry's class. Okay, this is the model right here. Liana says that the model represents 12% because 12 squares were shaded. Paris says this isn't true. Well, good job, Paris. How could Paris explain her reasoning to Liana? Okay, so looking at this example right here, Liana says that because 12 boxes are shaded, that this equals 12%. Liana is wrong, but we need to correct her. So I'm going to pause the video, and so are you, and you are going to tell me what percent is shaded. Hint, it's not 12. Okay, so Paris could explain her reasoning by saying there are 12 shaded parts out of 15 total pieces. Now if I divide that, I get 0.8. Then I need to change that to a percentage by multiplying by 100 or moving the decimal 2 places. Now, it might be tricky to say this is 8%, but it's not. Let's look at our calculator. There's 0.8, and I'm going to multiply it by 100. Oh, it's 80%. Okay, this is 80% because there's a hidden 0 right here. We don't need to write that 0, but it's there. So Paris is right. This is not 12% because 12 out of 15 is 80%. Good job reviewing percentages. Now, we're going to be talking about percentages because we're going to be doing some problems with percentages. So let's go over some key points to percentages. A percent is a part of a whole ratio, where the whole is always 100, right? Because 100% is the whole. 80% would be part of it. A percent can also be written as a fraction out of 100. For example, this 80% up here, I could write it as 80 over 100 because that's 80%, 100 is total. Or you could write it as a decimal, just like we did right here, 0.8. These are all equivalent in terms of math. So however you write it, like a fraction, like a percent, like a decimal, it all means the same thing. Okay? We have another example right here with 78% as a fraction would be over 100, and it could also be as a decimal. They're all the same thing. Excellent. So let's look at this example down here. We have some shaded in boxes, and I want to know the percentage or fraction or decimal of the shaded in area. Let's do the first one together. I need to find out how many of these boxes are shaded in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another 10 would be 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, so I've got 25 shaded in, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a 10 by 10, which means there are 100 squares. So 25 of them are shaded out of 100 total. Well, as you can see, if I have 25 out of 100, then that means this is 25%. And if I took 25 divided by 100. That would give me my decimal answer. 0.25. It works. All right. There. We have expressed the shaded area as a fraction, a decimal, and a percent. Now it's your turn to do number 2 and 3. Go. And we're back. Number 2, you should have said there are 65 out of 100 shaded, which if you divide is 0.65, and your percentage is 65% is shaded. Number 3, 15 out of 100 are shaded. That is 0.15 or 15%. Well, great. We're good at percents and fractions and decimals. Let's move on to solving percent problems. So, when we're solving percent problems, we are going to be using proportions. See how we have 2 equal ratios? Okay, so let's fill in that little box right there. We are going to set up a proportion. Two equal ratios. And we're going to be using this formula right here. This is super duper important. You might want to highlight it. Now, there's another way to do this, but we're not going to do it that way. We're good at proportions, so let's stick with it. This formula tells us that we're going to have a percentage out of 100. So like 15%, 10%, whatever percent goes here, out of 100. On the other side, we'll have part over whole. Now, whole can also be the total, okay, depending on how you think about it. Okay, so this whole and this total are the same thing. Let's see if we can use this to talk about some specific problems. Turn the page. Ta-da! Again, not doing that part. Let's focus right here. We have a double number line that is representing the fraction 1 out of 5. Okay, we've got 1 out of the 5 squares shaded in. So if we were talking about our formula from the other page, okay, 1 would be part. That is the part that is shaded in, or the part we're talking about. 5 would be the whole, or the total. Okay, the x, the unknown, is the percent. We don't know what percent this is. And of course, 100% is always going to be written as 100. That will always, always be 100. Okay, now if you notice, with our double number line showing 1 as some percent, 5 is the total, 100% is the total. Okay, if you were to take this part right here and rotate it 90 degrees, whee! Look, it looks like 2 equal fractions. Look at that. So there it is. Let's go ahead and do this problem. And let's fill everything in. Okay? So we have the percentage, which right now, I don't know what the percentage is, out of 100, equals part would be 1, whole would be 5. Look, it's a proportion. So we can cross multiply and solve. So 1 times 100 gives me 100. I'm going to show my work over here because I'm running out of room. X times 5. Just write it down. And then we divide. And x equals 20. Well, great. 20 what? That's telling us, since that is our x is in the percentage spot, that tells us that 1/5 is equal to 20%. That's what we just found out. Oh, let me scoot that down. Ta-da! Let's do a few more of these where the unknown is in a different location. Okay? If we look at this one right here, the piece that we don't know is what part this is. We know the percentage. We know that the total is 40, and that's 100%. Okay, let's set this up. 2 equal fractions. Okay? And we're going to be using, so the percentage, do we know the percentage? Yes, we do. It says it's 20. So that goes there. Do we know the total percentage? Yes, it's always 100. Now, part of the numbers. Do I know what goes here? No. So that's an x. And it's out of 40. All right, it's all set up. So this is asking us 20% is how many out of 40? I don't know. Cross multiply and find out. Aha! Hopefully you cross multiplied and ended up with 8. Well, what does that mean? That means 20% is 8. So out of total, there was 40. 20% would be 8 of them. You're doing phenomenal. Let's do another one. Now let's look at number 5. This one says 75% out of 100 is equal to 24, and I don't know how many the total is. Okay, pause the video, figure it out. Should have gotten x is equal to 32. So 75% of 32 is 24. That's part of it, as shown by this line. Now, you might like the tape diagrams, or you might not like them. These story problems down here are exactly the same, but they're in words. Personally, I like the words better. Let's take our formula and let's try number 6. This one says, what number is 12% of 315? According to my formula, okay, we're going to be putting the percentages over here. So out of 100, we're asking what number is 12%. So that 12% would go here. And I don't know what number is 12%. But I know the total number of whatever I have is 315. Please cross multiply and tell me what number is 12% of 315. Go! Well, 12% of 315 is 37.8. We did it! Let's try the next one. Now this one, you're going to have the x in a different location, but that's fine because we just cross multiply anyway. This time, we know that 60% of some number is 45. Ah, this time they told you what 60% of the number was. See how 60% matches with 45? And we don't know this number. Solve, please. So in this case, the total number was 75. Make sure as you're doing your problems that you read these very carefully. Last one we're going to look at. What percent of 40 is 25? This time, they wanted us to figure out the percentage out of 100. We know the total number is 40, and the part number is 25. There it is. Let's practice. Aha! X is 62.5%. Good job, guys. Remember to read those words and fill in your formula because the X could be in any place. Good luck!